Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships with Wadres again, and you will notice that I have foregone my customary disclaimer for co-op matches because this video is dedicated to some of my exploits in 1 versus 1 ranked sprint over the last couple of days. I did just rank out a little bit earlier this evening, and so there aren't going to be any more battles coming out, but I can definitely say I've had some rather interesting highlights and run into a few, I'll go so far as to say colorful characters, to say the least, on the opposition. But overall, it's definitely been interesting, and I think, as far as things go, I would definitely enjoy seeing this in ranked sprint again in the future. It made for something of a enjoyable experience for a change in a ranked environment. So that could be something very interesting, and I look forward to exploring or seeing if wargaming may, by some random stroke, actually explore doing so again in the future. And, well, because my usual video is a good half hour or so long, and the ranked sprint matches really aren't that incredibly extensive, you actually get to see a good 5 matches in the span of this video. And, well, I hope they don't disappoint. They certainly showcase, at least in a couple of cases, what aircraft carriers are capable of. That's, goes without saying. But, the other thing is, well, it also goes to show a little bit of the matchmaking that I also ended up against, where maybe, technically speaking, in some ways, I really should not have won the match. Or I won the match precisely because maybe my opponent failed to do something that they could have done early on to secure the win for themselves. For example, in this match, the enemy Bismarck is kind of stalling as far as getting himself moving, getting himself going. I guess he was trying to figure out where I was going first, I don't know, but I mean, that gave me some valuable time to chunk a good bit of his health off of him before he even really started getting into the cap circles. If he had started moving forwards and straight into the capture points, he probably would have done a good bit better over the course of this match at the very least. And that was one of the few things that I actually will kind of note in general as far as my exploits and CVs for this ranked sprint, was that the players that I ended up against, they started trying to do, well, in some cases they started, I'm almost tempted to say almost give up tactics in some ways, where it's like they saw me in an aircraft carrier and they just gave up for no good reason. Like, now, granted, this match here in particular against the one Bismarck wasn't one of those, at least not in the later stages. Once he started getting his bearings on where I was, he does start pushing me. But if he had pushed in a little bit earlier, things would have been very different. I mean, if I had been in his place, running in Bismarck or Tirpitz, I'd actually be in both A and B right now, flipping the caps to try and get some points in. After which, I probably would have just charged straight out in the opposite direction of the aircraft carrier, actually, and just relied on the points tally to actually finish the match off. But, and this is what really got me, nobody did that. Whenever they decided to do anything, in a few cases, they just decided to start chasing me down instead of actually engaging in actual capture, which is, technically speaking, one of the other objectives. Had they worked on that, had they attempted to capture, they would have done a lot better, and the overall match structure would have been very different. Because even in a Graf Zeppelin, as an aircraft carrier, I'm not going to go charging in against a Bismarck. That would be suicidal. The Bismarck definitely has the edge. I'm not going to race into cap under those circumstances. In fact, I don't think any aircraft carrier in their right mind would do so, just because there's really no benefit for it. Your aircraft are your damage-dealing source. Your hull is very vulnerable, so why would you put your hull at risk if you really, really don't have to? Especially when you have no other support other than yourself. So, be that as it is, it kind of baffled me a little bit, just seeing how little input some players actually made in regards to just trying to finish the objective. I mean, if Emilio Arabondo, whatever his name is, had charged into A and B early on, he would have started capping out, and if he had actually gone the other way and run away from me, increasing the amount of time it took for my aircraft to get to him, in fact, he would have probably won just by the overall cap out and points tally. So, yeah, he kind of, I suppose it's safe to say that he kind of did himself in by lollygagging at first and then just deciding to charge straight into an aircraft carrier that's already been feasting on him for half the match. And the only misplay that I could have made here to prevent him, to keep him from, to prevent myself winning would have been if I had exposed myself to his gunfire. Plain and simple. Now, not every match was that cut and dry. There were some that were interesting, to say the least. And the match that you're seeing here on the variation of the Greece map for Ranked Sprint, well, let's just say we had a couple of I had a few surprising matches where the result I never would have seen coming in my wildest dreams. Now, I am going to say that, yes, I did spam my Tirpitz B a lot over the course of this. One, it was good XP for Gunther Luchens, but also because, well, I do pay attention to some of the other YouTubers or the community contributors, and yes, Tirpitz is in fact, or at this point I could probably even get away with saying was, in fact, a very, very strong ship for Ranked Sprint. In fact, just about every match that I actually earned a star in overall was done in the Tirpitz B. The only reason I did any of the other ships was because I still had a couple of snowflakes hanging over from early on, and I was just kind of spamming them until I had a win to knock off the snowflake, and then I moved on to another ship in line. And once those were all gone, well, hey, back to the Tirpitz. And it got a little old after a while, but it did still make ranking out rather easy overall. And I definitely noticed a lot of other players who had Tirpitz doing exactly the same thing, so I do not feel ashamed for doing so in the slightest. And again, it also got a lot of good experience points into Luchens, which is another major benefit, because he's still sitting at 17 points right now. So all the points that I can get into him, the better. And it was always something of a nice little, I guess I could say, accomplishment, whatever, to hit that point where I got 100 secondary battery hits into a target, and they just start rattling more and more shells out. But yeah, this match with the Atago here on the reworked Greece map Now, right about here, I was actually expecting to pretty much be dead. I don't know why he held off on his torpedoes. I don't know if I'd knocked him out or whatever, but he does drop them kind of late, giving me the chance to get off one final salvo and kill him just as his torpedoes hit me. And that match, ladies and gentlemen, was actually a draw. So, yeah. Little things that conspire to make matches very, very interesting in some cases. Now, this match in the Enterprise was another one that gave me a rather surprising outcome. It was probably, well, I can't exactly say one of the closest matches I ever had when you consider that draw that I just showed everybody. But as far as overall the boundary between win and loss, not counting draws, this was probably one of the matches that could have been a lot more interesting had I not had one pretty unique surprise occurrence. And that actually happens very much towards the end of the match. But overall, I mean, this one actually had the potential to be a very, very close match. And had it not been for that one little happenstance, it is entirely possible that I would have lost this match. It was not down to player skill or anything either. It was a sheer stroke of luck. Absolute stroke of luck. But by now some of you are probably already taking a wild guess as to what I mean. But it's still just... yeah, it was one of those where it caught me by surprise because I had this Tirpitz that was actually getting kind of close towards the end of this match, as you're going to see. And suddenly the match was over. And I had absolutely no idea what even happened. So, yeah, it really caught me off guard. I had no way of anticipating it happening at all. Never even would have expected it happening. But overall, I do try to do my best. I mean, I've got my rocket planes, I've set a couple of fires on the Tirpitz, and I do actively try to keep him lit up and on fire for a few runs. And the nice thing about the Enterprise is, with her rocket attack aircraft, she is reasonably good at setting some fires when I don't completely misjudge the distance of my attack runs. Yeah, that one probably cost me a little bit of time for the match as well, too. If I had been relying on these fires at all completely, I would have, well, which I actually was, that could have had some rather nasty repercussions for the outcome of this match. And, see, the Tirpitz is actually doing everything sort of right here, also. He's charging in, he's capping B, he's almost got A capped, and, I mean, these captures did flip pretty quick. There would be no way for me to actually get over there from a direct launch with him already in A to reset that cap. He's got both captures flipped. If this game were going to go on capture progress and capture development alone, he's already won. If he keeps distance, anything, whatever, he's won this match. He downright would have won this match on cap points alone. He did not, by any means, need to consider even chasing me down to catch me. He's going to win on capture if he just bides his time. And, I mean, you can see he's also doing a pretty damn good job of evading my aircraft. Granted, I'm not exactly making it incredibly hard for him either. But, I mean, I could be making it harder, but I'm also not exactly making it incredibly easy. At least I don't think I'm making it incredibly easy. He's just doing very good at his ducking and weaving and keeping my aircraft kind of where he wants them, so to speak, which is forward or behind when you're talking about torpedoes, or to his side when you're talking about my dive bombers, because honestly, dive bombers with a side to look at, especially in the case of the Enterprise's AP bombers, would really prefer to look at a ship lengthwise rather than widthwise. So he's actually doing a pretty good job of keeping my aircraft right where he wants them for the most part. And you can see when he realizes I'm actually on my lineup for attack, he does start jinking over, so he knows I'm coming. And he actively does what he can to keep me from getting those strikes in. Now at this point in the match, again, any CV player honestly would actually be panicking, and Lord knows I was too. I was trying to get my aircraft out as quickly as I could to try and do as much damage to this Tirpitz as I possibly could before he closed the range and just either pummeled me down with his secondaries or finished me off with torpedoes, main battery, whatever. Keeping myself behind the island that I'm behind for the most part to just keep myself alive that much longer and maybe survive by some random stroke of luck. And, well, what do you know? I get a random detonation. Yeah. Seriously random. And you can see how quickly that match ended, too. I had absolutely no time to register that Tirpitz detonated before the match was over and the tally screen was going. I was trying to figure out wait. He had half his health. What the hell happened? It did actually take me a few moments to recognize the fact that he did detonate, and also remember the simple fact that torpedoes can randomly cause detonation of battleship main batteries if they hit, or even any other ship main batteries for that matter, if they hit just right. And I guess I did just that with that Tirpitz. So, random occurrence, saving grace, detonating a Tirpitz. By all rights, he had that match in the bag. There was nothing else I could have done. So, me getting that detonation on him in that last little bit was sheer providence, I swear it. And of course, as many of you I'm sure know, it was not all roses. I mean, I did mention that I did do some of my other tier 8s until I did at least get a win to knock a snowflake off. And, well, this match in Majitayev was not exactly one of my better shining moments. I knew it's Tirpitz. I know I don't want to engage his main batteries from the side. So once he does get a beat on me, I kind of want to keep my nose on him because I do know I can at least ricochet his main battery shells. That's one of the nice things about the Russian heavy cruisers. They do have that sort of nice-ish armor when I'm not exposing too much broadside. So I was trying to keep my nose on him and also hoping that I could knock out his torpedoes just by trying to keep my HE fire on the rear rearmost third of the ship to try and knock the torpedo launchers out. Unfortunately, that doesn't quite happen. Yeah. And I just run literally straight into that torpedo. There was no other way. Now, I did get my torpedoes off, and technically speaking, I probably would have won that match if my torpedoes had made contact first, or I had dodged his torpedo salvo, or whatever, but unfortunately, no such luck. Yeah. Oh well. I did ultimately win one match in the Chapayev, of course, and go figure it was against a destroyer. But, I mean, I did at least try to do my best when I got matched against aircraft carriers or battleships. But sometimes you just... You know you're screwed, so you try to do your best and you just get screwed no matter what you do. This match with the Implacable, there are a number of things that I probably could have done wrong up to, and including the fact that I charged straight in on this Bismarck right at the start, when I maybe should have come a little from the side or something, instead of just going straight through that initial flak burst. But he was just sitting there, too. So I wasn't sure what was going on. I wasn't even sure if he had just given up on this match already or what, and was just deciding to sit it out until I destroyed his ship, whatever. But then he actually did start moving. Now, this is probably one of the better instances of Bismarck gameplay that I saw, in a way, when while doing ranked sprint. First off, he does start moving, and he does start moving in reasonably quick for that matter. But there are a few things that are actually going to settle this Bismarck's fate kind of early on. Now, don't get me wrong. Technically speaking, he does everything, well, almost everything right as far as gameplay and actual use of the ship. He's, in a number of ways, at least early on, dodging my aircraft and doing everything that he can to keep me from getting a drop in on him. He can't always dodge the successive drops, and this is the Implacable here. We're not exactly talking high damage roll torpedoes, but, I mean, he's still at least trying to not take everything that I drop on him. And for the most part, he is succeeding. I did get that one torpedo off, but that's still one torpedo as opposed to a full drop of two. And Lord knows he didn't eat an entire squadron's worth of torpedoes. But what really kind of seals his fate for this match, among other things, isn't even the fact that I'm using aircraft. It isn't even the fact that I'm in an aircraft carrier. There are a number of things that would have still secured him a win in this match. But the one big thing that you'll notice he is not doing, he doesn't even appear interested in trying to capture the capture points. He is trying to charge me down specifically as the aircraft carrier. He isn't worrying about the capture points, despite the fact that I clearly have no interest in even going in there at all. He's decided to hunt me down, instead of actually go for the objective. And that, right there, is where he actually fails in this match. Because the British aircraft, the British aircraft carriers, their aircraft really are not the fastest that I've noticed. In fact, they're actually kind of slow, even by aircraft standards for World Warships. They're a little tankier for it, but they are really nothing to write home about. You can handle them better than most of the other aircraft in game. The other thing with the British aircraft carriers that I've noticed is they really don't have the same amount of deck space as the other aircraft carriers either. So they can be easier to semi-deplane on the current aircraft carrier system. And really, as long as you work on your AA and everything properly, you can handle the British aircraft carriers a lot more effectively than a US Navy or even a Japanese aircraft carrier. Or even the Graf Zeppelin for that matter. But overall, I mean, there are still things that he could have done to make this match harder for me. And he's just not doing it. One, he charges straight for me. He doesn't even really give the caps too much attention. He closes the distance to where I can reset his capture progress easily, for that matter. And what's even more, after a while, he doesn't even bother dodging my aircraft. He gives me beautiful, straight dive bomb runs like this one here. The last one of the match, where I get 3 fires and finish him off. Those fires win me this match. Yeah. So if I had misplayed at all, he probably would have won. If he had gone for the capture, he probably would have won. but he didn't, and that's his loss. Now, of course, it wouldn't be Warships in PvP without somebody expressing their unhappiness with the situation that they got themselves into. Again, it's his loss, but he did... I'm tempted to say that from a effective standpoint, he did a number of things wrong that he could have done to completely turn this match in his favor, and he just didn't do them. Anyway, I will finish this video off with a quick tags from highlights of one of my World of Tanks matches over the last week after Christmas. Just taking my AMX 13 F3 into matches and seeing what I could do. And, well, let's just say I think my artillery training for World of Warships is paying off finally. Because it certainly seems like I do better in SPGs or artillery in World of Tanks than I do with just about damn near anything else. So, anyway. On that note, I suppose I'll let you all go. If you have enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what you've seen, and to get notifications regarding any future content. On that note, I suppose I'll let you all go while the reel finishes off here, and I'll catch you all again next time. Have a good one, folks, and I wish you happy hunting.